This is Kieran Scott of Blessed Altar Zine. We have today with us the myth, the legend, Karl Willetts of Memoriam and ex-bolt thrower. Introduce yourself, Karl.
All right, Kieran, it's good to see you, my friend. It's been a while since our paths have crossed, and always a pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah, I like to talk, hence why the interviewing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's a bit strange because you're only down the road from me, aren't you?
Yeah, well, I live in Shrewsbury. Lovely Shrewsbury.
Shrewsbury or Shrewsbury?
It's Shrewsbury. It's pronounced shrew, and it's spelt shrew, so it's shrew.
Shrewsbury.
Okay. Which side of the river you live on, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, look, yes, lovely up there. Very nice neck of the woods. So, yes, not actually on my doorstep, but hey ho. So, yes, a pleasure to talk to you this good, fine evening in the end of January. It is.
God, yeah, it's already the end of January. So, right, just like things never ending, we'll make sure this goes as quick as smoothly as possible so you can have an enjoyable evening afterwards. This will not be an we'll not be interrogating. This will be nice and casual, so it's all good. Right, so we'll start with our easiest first question. This is the one that everyone wants to know. When did your musical journey first start as a musician? And who was the first metal band that converted you to the live music as a goal for you as a career and a hobby and a passion, apart from Bolt Thrower, obviously, because you joined them?
Yeah, that's a very good point to start, and I mean it's a very pertinent question, and I have a very direct answer as well. I can really pinpoint the time that it happened as well. Really, it was like, you know, I used to go to a lot of shows up at the legendary Mermaid in Birmingham. Virtually every other weekend or every weekend there's bands up there, and you see a host of bands. But it was one particular night which was on my 21st birthday. And so we're talking, I'm 55 this year, so you can do the math. So we're talking, you know, in the late 80s, around that time. It's all a bit of a blur. And I was watching possibly my favourite band at the time, and potentially of all time, a band called Sacrilege. And I remember watching them perform, and, you know, it just, I had that kind of like that kind of like light bulb moment where I kind of like was watching them and I was thinking, you know, I'd really like to have a go at doing something like this. You know, it was, you know, this whole music of it was awesome. You know, kind of Tony May on bass and Andy Baker on drums and Damien on guitar, one of my all-time idols, fantastic guitarist. But yeah, for me it was Linda Tam Simpson, and the way that she performed and came across and delivered really kind of set me thinking that it's something that I'd really like to do in the future, something I'd like to achieve with my life. And so yeah, that was a very, very clear. I remember it very, very well happening as well, you know. And I even got a shout out for my birthday from her as well, which is nice. It's on an old demo. It's on the demo tapes that they're knocking around the tape trading scene. But I got to mention, and yeah, so that was the point where I thought, yeah, this is something I'd like to do, something I wanted. I want to have a great crack at it. And it wasn't long after that you know, the opportunity to join Bolt Thrower came along, which is predominantly really because I was best mates with Whale.
You go way back.
Yeah, exactly. It was he was basically related to one of my best mates at school, basically, and so we kind of like, I kind of was into the bands he was in previously, and he started this band called we joined this band called Bolt Thrower, and I drove them. That was my step in. Yeah, that was my step into the door. I was their roadie basically, and
I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's like a natural progression, really, because I knew them all, and it was probably easier to get me. Yeah, it's easy to get me. I kind of. It was like a default, really. I joined the band through default, through no sense of ability or skill. It was just the fact that I was handy and I could drive, which is probably the main thing. So I could drive. When the original vocalist decided he didn't want to do it anymore, I kind of like I just naturally stepped into that position, and it all just developed from there, you know. And here I am, nearly 40 years later, still at it.
Yeah, whacking out albums.
Absolutely, it's a furious, phenomenal rate.
You guys put the young'uns to shame, you do, honestly.
Well, yeah, we're just we're very aware of the time span that's involved here, and we try to do as much as we can while we can.
I blame you, honestly. Cool. Oh, that was a fantastic answer. Absolutely love that. See, I told you that's the only bolt throw question you'd be happy to hear.
Well, yeah.
Moving on.
And I had a very good defined answer for it too. So there we go.
Cool. This is another good one. I enjoyed this one because this is something that I think is very important. So, coming from the age of pre-internet, word of mouth, and tape trading, has anything changed for the better or the worst with ease of access with social media?
Very, very perceptive question indeed. Yeah. As you pointed out there, when we were started out as bands, there was no things as mobile technology. There was no real internet. It was all done through the post, through the good old post, the Royal Mail, firing over these packages, and there was something really kind of special. And there still is today, really, when you get a package from someone, physically with a handwritten envelope and a kind of a letter in there. It's actually physically taken time to write. I don't know. It just feels or felt a lot more personal, a lot more special, very special, and that was great. That's how the scene was through underground magazines and things like that. Everyone was ready to voice it, and that's how it all emerged. It's very organic. And it felt like something you belonged to, something you kind of owned and you kind of like you created and were part of. So a sense of identity developed from that quite strongly. And so that was back then. And things, as you say, it's a whole sea change of the way things are done nowadays. So with the ease of the press of a button, you can send music out on a global basis, and you can get heard across the globe. So it has that's one of the benefits, but also, there is negatives involved in this because it's so easy to do. Everyone's at it, So back when we were doing it, there was only a handful of bands around, and it grew and grew and got developed. But there was we were talking maybe tens, 20s, maybe hundreds of bands. Now there's thousands, hundreds of thousands, loads of that. Everyone can do it.
I would argue there's like millions.
Absolutely. And that does make it that much more difficult, I think, for bands to kind of like, define themselves or kind of be different from the crowd and get noticed because of the sheer volume that is out there.
Absolutely,
So in many respects, it's harder, I think, in many respects, because it's difficult. We're lucky, because we're established and we've been doing it a long time, and we've got we've done our apprenticeship, and we've worked hard to.
You've done the hard work.
Yeah, absolutely. And
grind.
I think some people maybe may kind of expect to just get it given to them. I think people don't realise they've got to work hard at it. And,
absolutely, yeah.
And sometimes it's people you've got to be genuine about it. So but quality will always rise, and you do find some fantastic new music out there occasionally. And it's great. It's great when you do, and long may that last. I think it's a good platform for everyone. It's a bit of an equaler, it's a grand leveler.
Yeah, I do think you were right. Yeah, like things have changed, and there's a thing like if you do not adapt to change, you're doomed to be consumed by it. And I think that's kind of how it works for the metal industry. Yeah, I understand. I get it. At the end of the day, the good old days were brilliant. Everyone knew each other. It was a community. Like people were pen pals, as you were saying, getting the handwritten things. It was fantastic. Like today, for example, I did some work for a band, and they sent me their shirt. Tortured Demon. I did the artwork for them. They sent me a little album, which I did for them as well.
It's always nice to get, I got this to the post the other day, my Insurgency t-shirt. It's just still nice to get. I still enjoy that. But you say, you just have to adapt and grow. That's life in general. That's the way life is constantly changing, constantly evolving, and you have to move with it and change with it. Otherwise, you get left behind. And that's the whole thing about metal. I'm moving on to a slightly different question.
That's fine.
Is metal is constantly emerging. The whole scene it's constantly developing through the decades that I've been involved with. And I clearly remember back in the 90s where in the middle of the 90s there's a bit of a death metal was coming to its fore, and then all of a sudden in the middle of it all kind of fell apart, and grunge
the grunge era.
Grunge was big, and then all of a sudden this whole new phenomenon called black metal came along, and for me, and to a certain extent still, don't like it, don't understand it. Not for me. But the thing is, it's not supposed to be for me. You know, it belongs to a different generation. They own it. It's what they grow, that gain their sense of identity from.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's what makes them feel that they belong to and they believe in. And I think as you get older, you kind of start to appreciate that and understand it a little bit more, and not get so offended by it, and just accept it for what it is. And I think without that, that's what makes the scene so healthy, that it is constantly evolving and constantly changing.
Absolutely.
New genres come, new genres go, and and that's what keeps it alive. And that's why we're still able to do this today. Without that constant change and development and evolving scene, we wouldn't be doing it. We would have had to give it up 20 years ago. So I'm grateful for the way it grows and the way it develops and changes. It's not supposed to be for me. It doesn't appeal to me, but that's the way it is.
I like that. That's a good point, because it's not, at the end of the day, music isn't about you, but when it comes down to easy accessibility, it is about you, because it's about what your algorithm tells you to listen to, what you think you like from other things you've listened to. So that does tie in quite well. You actually answered my next question without knowing.
Yeah, I do that. This is my interview start. I talk for an hour and a half. I answer all your questions, and at the end of it, I say, "Have you got any other questions?" And you go, "No," and I go, "Okay, good night."
Yeah, literally, like you literally segues into the next question, which you just answered. So we'll just move on. Cool. Obviously, let's talk about the elephant in the room and keep it as short as possible. So, with now Brexit done, COVID now looming all over the world, causing problems, and then the political and civil unrest that has happened this past year, how has it affected you personally and your writing with the new Memoriam record?
Yeah, absolutely. It's had a fairly a massive impact on it, really. When I was writing the lyrics to the album, we were in the midst of the COVID first wave of the pandemic. It's all 2020 was an interesting year. It was kind of bumming. It started revving up quite nicely at the start of the year. Did a couple of good shows. There's some shows in London, which is great. A couple of shows in Denmark. Then all of a sudden, the whole world ground to a halt, and life as we knew it ceased to be. And we were all had to put in this situation that we've all had to experience in different ways. And for us as a band, it was quite difficult not to do gigs. We're not a band that ever goes on tour for extended periods of time, but we do play shows virtually every other weekend, and it's great to do that. We enjoy doing that, so we do it on our terms. At this point of our life, we can pretty much pick and choose what we want to do, the way we want to do it, and that really works for us. So it's just a great escape from the mundane reality of everyday life, and we're never going to get rich from doing it, but we really enjoy doing it. That's the main thing. To have that taken away, it's been quite difficult to get over, but we've obviously used the time constructively in putting together the new album, and I think I can safely say that it's had a very, very positive effect in that process, because we weren't rehearsing every week to go and do shows. We didn't have shows to take our mind off the task in hand and the projects we were focusing on. So this time around for this album, we're totally prepared way in advance than I've ever been before for any other album I've ever created in my life. So so far so that the music was done by around about April, May time. That was all done, finalised. So it gave me plenty of time to work on the lyrics. I could actually sit down, I could write lyrics. I wrote several draft versions of lyrics, and they're all good. They're exactly unheard of. And it was all done round about August time, and we weren't going to the studio till October. So it gave me the chance to actually go over to Scott's studio, Riff Central, and demo the vocals. I've never in my life had the opportunity to demo vocals for an album.
So it's normally just straight in.
Absolutely. I'm usually writing the lyrics, up to the point where I'm recording them, and even sometimes reconstructing them whilst I'm recording them in the studio.
That's a very Max Cavalera approach. He's one of those guys. Just come in the studio. Let's just go.
It'd be fine. But and because when you've got things in your head and you haven't practiced them or you haven't tried them out so many times, sometimes they just don't work, or they just don't fit, or you just can't do it. But this time around, I had the opportunity to demo the album. So, you know, we kind of recorded all the songs in advance. So everyone else in the band knew what to expect and could work around the vocals with all the different drums and the guitars. And I had the chance to work out the structures, the timings, and the delivery of how I wanted to make it work in advance. So when we went into the studio in October, it was an absolute doddle, you know. It was a real pleasure and a real easy way through. And of course, because all these ideas were in place, Russ Russell, who plays a big part in putting out the albums together, knew exactly what he wanted to get out of me with the delivery as well, and the performances and things he thought would work better and change. So all in all, the whole COVID thing has created a far superior prepared album, which I think really is reflected in the overall sound that we've given out.
See, now I'm getting excited.
So there you go. You haven't heard it yet, have you?
No,
okay. And also, you know, obviously, that's just the impact of COVID. That's. But also, you mentioned there the social, political elements of what was going on as well.
There's a lot of unrest.
You know, Brexit and Black Lives Matter, you know, kind of like George Floyd,
rest in peace.
Absolutely, that had a huge influence on my lyrical writing. So much so that when I did my first draft set of lyrics, writing the 9 tracks for the album, I sat back and read through them, and I thought, hold on a second. Every single song I've written here has got some kind of like hard political edge overtone to it, and I thought that's fine to a point, but it's not what I'm trying to achieve here. I'm not trying to achieve an overtly political album here. I wanted a sense of balance. You know, I have a variety of lyrical themes that I usually draw from, and I wanted to create some balance. So I withdrew. I selected the songs which I felt had the best political content and had something to say that was, important. I retained those 3 or 4 songs, and then I rewrote the other ones which had more, and to change around about songs more about life in general and experiences. And it worked. It made them work a lot better, and I think it's added to the album as well. There's more flavour to it, and tones and textures, and diversity in the actual lyrical content now. So I'm really, really pleased with how it's come together. You know, we've used some direct political kind of footage, in one of the songs particular. There's one of the songs particular. We've used a sample which is taken from a Black Lives Matter demonstration in America, in Portland, Oregon, which one of my friends was at. And
wow.
And she was actually kind of videoing it and kind of acting as a kind of like, documenting it to make sure nothing untoward happened. And in the process, she got arrested as well. So from her arrest, we got all her footage of where the police are kind of warning everyone that they're going to, start using chemical kind of weapons to kind of disperse the crowd. So we've used that. As a song called "Failure to Comply" on the album.
That's cool.
And so there's some direct examples of real life, real time situations that we've actually drawn reference to on this album as well. So.
Yeah, it's kind of like a history capsule. Like, don't forget this happened. This actually happened.
Yeah,
there were groups of people peacefully protesting, being tear gassed for protesting against violence.
Absolutely.
It's crazy. When you think about that as a sentence, it's like,
and to see what's recently happened since, this is in the recent weeks, the storming of the Capitol Hill. It's just incredible to see, this endemic. It is the virus, that this kind of rising right wing mentality is worse than this coronavirus, in my opinion. Of course, Brexit's
highlighted it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's caused the discourse is there. It's caused a massive rift. As here in the UK, Brexit caused a massive disunited as a nation. And
now we're all apathetic.
But that's already had it. It's starting to have impact. So now we've got this whole COVID thing, which is rolling along still. And who knows when that's going to finish? Who knows if it's going to, this year is even in question whether anything's going to happen or not.
I'm not that confident. But...
No, I'm not till at least September, if that. So all we got to do is we're all in the same boat. We just got to roll with it and deal with it as it comes. But yeah, the impact of Brexit has started already to
brutal
impacts as well. I mean, I don't know if you've noticed that even if you just post stuff abroad now, Royal Mail have increased their postal charges. America's in World Zone 3 now, so it's more expensive to send.
Yeah, like I experienced that very recently myself with my project Remote. So we recorded an EP over the whole thing over lockdown, and then released it, which I think was brave or stupid. I haven't figured out yet. But when we were sending our packages to the people that pre-ordered it, it was £20 for a shirt and a CD to send to America.
Yeah, absolutely.
It cost us £136 to mail. Like I think it was 30 packages. That was 4 to America, and they cost about £80 it cost just to mail to America.
It makes it kind of virtually financially unviable to do it, you know.
Absolutely.
And yeah, of course, even just simple things like, you know, sending any package to abroad now, you have to fill out a customs declaration as well for every single bloody package as well.
Every single one,
absolutely boiling. So, you know, I've had to work it out, but what I've had to do to adjust is I've increased mail prices and decrease the t-shirts price so it kind of evens itself out. But
yeah, we have to do something similar.
Yeah, it's already having its impact, and the fact that we're going to have carnets when you go abroad, it's not a big deal, but it's just an extra barrier to the freedom of travel. And when you are traveling abroad, and usually there's connecting flights involved, you know,
course, yeah.
and timing's really, really tight. Usually, sometimes you've got an hour between flights to get from one gate to another. And if you've got this extra kind of level of hassle with going through border control with a carnet, that's another factor you have to work into it. Massive impact is the fact that you have to make a list of all your gear, everything you take with you, including merchandise, and present it on
I've read into that. It's
on
really,
the way back. You know, so the ability to sell merchandise, which really for bands, all bands, it's that's the bit that you kind of make your money off, really.
But they know that. They're aware of that. That's why they do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's sickening to behold, and it does bring into question the whole commercial viability of doing shows abroad. You know, but we'll just have to see how it rolls out, and just enjoy what we're doing right now for what it is.
Yeah, I mean, just keep it as it is. As I said, we said earlier, like things are changing, and we need to adapt to it, or we'll be consumed by it. So this is just one of those things. Yeah. Like it or not, it's happening. We've got to deal with it.
Yeah. I mean, this is the whole online streaming of shows. That could be the way forward. I was very kind of against it to start off with, thinking of course, same. I was like, it's because it's all it's about the visceral feel of going to a show and all the senses being engaged and that. But if that's the only platform that's available to see a live show, then everyone's going to have to engage with it, aren't they? You know, that's the way forward.
I mean, it's actually put up the viability of platforms like Twitch. You know, like you've got Matt Heafy from Trivium that is pretty much pioneered musicians on Twitch now as an actual way of interacting with the fans, creating music and being supported by your fans directly. So, that's kind of opened up a window there. So it's very interesting.
You have to kind of, as you say, you have to adapt and develop and roll what's on the table in front of you, really. That's all you can do.
Okay, cool. That was fantastic answer. I enjoyed that.
I think we went off course. I went a little bit off course there, but hey ho.
If it comes to any vocalists talking, it will never end. Like, we like to be heard.
I wish it was. I tell you what, if it's an Olympic sport, I'll bloody well win gold.
But so let's get on to our next one. So we've only got 2 left, so we'll keep them.
Okay, that's good.
So this one's a good one. So Dan Seagrave. We all love Dan Seagrave's art. He's incredible. In my opinion, I think he's one of the best. Yeah, exactly. I think he's one of the best artists, period, let alone band artists. Like, his detail is unrivaled. His style is recognizable instantly, and he's worked with so many bands for over the years. He said, is there any artists that can match that standard of quality that you would have considered if Dan Seagrave wasn't your guy? If that makes sense.
Yeah, it's a very, very good question, because we kind of crossed this little bridge not so long ago. Because when we came to the end of doing what we consider to be the last 3 albums, which we did with Nuclear Blast, and
The
That was
trilogy,
the end of the trilogy, which I now refer to as the death cycle. We were kind of pretty much at a crossroads, really. We signed to a new label, Reaper Entertainment, and we saw it as an opportunity to potentially do something different, So we thought, what do we do? Where do we go with this? And so we knocked some ideas around, and we looked potentially into different artists to use, and we just kept on coming back to Dan, because in many respects, once you've used Dan's artwork and you've kind of set your kind of like your cart out, and your level of expectation for the artwork is up there somewhere. I've always felt that artwork is particularly important for album covers from when I first started out, and that's been relevant in all the albums I've ever done. So when you set your level up there and you use an artist like Dan, anything else that you use automatically is up for a fail, because it seems like a compromise, and it seems like a second-rate choice in comparison to Dan, because he's such a fantastic, he's a master at what he does. And to be involved with Dan from an embryonic stage, when you're just kind of pitching an idea at him, which you've got in your head as an idea, and to throw these ideas at him, just a few lines, what you want. For example, this album, the new album cover, I pitched it to him saying that, okay, we've had the list central figure has always been dead in a coffin, and that's been the focus of the album covers. Now I want him to be very much alive, because we're going to do another 3 albums focusing on the life of this character rather than the death of this character.
That's interesting.
So I said, I want this character that's in the coffin, I want him to be very much alive, very much in the central focus of the album cover. I want him to be, it's going to depict the moment in time before the very first album, so it's like a prequel. It's a George Lucas moment. It's basically the point in time just before the first album, For the Fallen. This is the battle that he's leading all his troops into, and that was my brief. I said I'd like it kind of a bluey purpley colour. See what you can do, and basically he kind of like, he comes back to you with little sketches. First of all, he said, do you like this, do you like that? He gives you 3 or 4 different options, and then he starts to add the colour and the detail, and you just to be involved in that creative process with him and see it grow from a little spark in your head to what it is now, the final production. He's just an amazing journey, and we were very, very lucky, because our decision, because we were umming and ahhing, and we hadn't really made up our minds what we were going to do until possibly August. It was pretty much late in the day to approach Dan and say, look, Dan, we've come up with an idea for an album cover. It's going to be this. We need it in 8 weeks' time. We need it in 8 weeks' time, mate. Can you deliver it for us? And after we were thinking, well, there's no way he's going to be able to do that, because he's really busy. He's got a massive backlog of work to do. But fair play to him, he managed to rejig his schedule around and fit us in to his schedule. I think the idea of he's potentially doing 3 album covers may have swung it for him, you know what I mean? Financially, it works out quite well. So he managed to fit us into his schedule, and you see behind me the finished article, which we're really, really proud of and really enjoy.
Yeah, it looks amazing.
It always are, but this one in particular, I think it's just got a different edge to it, because it's got that light. Yeah, it's a lot lighter. It signifies life. It's supposed to. It's
the first thing I noticed was how active it was, where the other ones were kind of disparagingly just like decay and death.
Desolate.
So the life in this one is, I love it. It's a different side to the band, but I also appreciated the ode to the past as well that had in the art. You've got the decaying buildings behind it. The conflict's already been done. But now it's the triumph, and that's the point of it.
Absolutely, and this is, it's all about maintaining those links as well. It's really important to kind of maintain.
Very important. That cohesion is
what we're doing. Yeah, absolutely. The visuals. So we're really pleased that Dan's done it, and we're working with us on the next 2 albums, which will keep us busy for the next couple of years.
20 years.
Absolutely, we'll be doing it when I'm 70.
Yeah, why not? I mean, Rob Halford's doing it.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Cool, right. And then the last question, and then we can let you free. So, what are your all-time favourite bands slash records? It can just be like a single record. If they disbanded, that's fine. And how did they affect you as a musician into becoming a vocalist?
Whoa, that's a curveball. Thanks. They could give me some advance warning on that one. Okay, yeah, off the top of my head, yeah, as defining records that kind of really kind of come to my mind, or bands in particular. Yeah, obviously I've mentioned Sacrilege. Behind the Realms of Madness is my all-time favourite go-to album, which I often always state as being my favourite album when I'm asked this question, for the obvious reasons. Yeah, the massive huge influence that in my life. So that's huge up there. You know, I think what other records that stand out to me that made an impact in my life is obviously every single album that Killing Joke have ever done and ever will produce. Jazz Coleman for me is my ultimate hero and an absolute icon. His lyrical style, his lyrical content is always every album is relevant and even more relevant now. And you know, it's when you read the words from songs that he wrote 5-10 years ago and relating to what's going on in the world around us today, he's like a, you know, he's very prophetic and yeah, he's a prophet. He is a prophet. Very
he's
special.
The one.
He is the chosen one. So yeah, anything by King Joke has got to be on that playlist, definitely, for sure. Another notable record to mention would be, of course, I've got to mention things like Anti-Sex. That they're kind of like In Darkness There Is No Choice. That's an all-time favourite song, album of mine, which resonates strong today. Slayer, Haunting the Chapel EP.
Yeah. Wow, yeah, that's an old one.
Yeah, that was a defining moment of listening to something very different, something I'd not heard before, and having a big impact, because all I heard around before then was really kind of like the anarcho-punk stuff. So that was a completely different edge, different style of music to hear. You know, and that alongside around about the same time, Metallica as well. You know, Ride the Lightning and Kill 'Em All. Those albums. So those definitely had a huge influence and impact on my life and the way that formulated my sense of identity and made me the man that I am today.
You're a mechanization of all that came before and what is now.
Absolutely, yes.
Fantastic.
Absolutely. And so I'm really quite looking forward to, shame you haven't heard the album actually, because yeah.
I will.
Yeah,
it's going to be in my inbox soon.
It's very, very soon. It's very, very soon.
I'll be reviewing it for Blessed Altarzine, so that will go up not long after this.
I think you'll find that it is very strong album. I'm say that because I'm biased, aren't I, obviously, but you know, it's a very, very diverse album. There's lots going on it, lots of different tones and textures and things happening on it. So I think people will like it. I do. That's the main thing.
That's the most important part. Like you could have 10 reviews that say it's terrible, but you'd be like, yeah, but I still like it.
Yeah, exactly. I don't care. I like it.
I don't know about you, but I listen to my albums and all the time. I only got 2, but all the time. My light's gone out. But all the time, just because it's good to hear it back after years, a year or so, and you're like, this was good, man. This was a good record.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you listen to it in different ways, don't you? As time progresses as well, and you've got it triggers different memories from that time as well. So
absolutely, yeah. I mean, you could hear the same album 50 times, but if you give it like 5 years in between, and then you're like, wow, I forgot. That's amazing. I didn't hear that bit before. Yeah. But also, it's interesting to look back. That's it.
I say with this album, there's loads of there's so many different things going on. You know, there's a song on there that directly references Killing Joke. Things we got.
Right. Okay.
We got a new drum. Yeah, we got a new Mass Psychosis. It's called, and we got a new drummer who used to play in Killing Joke. So
he did. Yes. Spike. Yeah.
Spike. So that we've utilised that style and technique for that song quite strongly.
He was a great fit to replace Andy. I mean, unfortunately, Andy, he couldn't do it anymore, and that's just wear and tear. He's been on the road for a long time. So
well, that's it. You know,
someone's got to give, and at least the replacement makes sense. I'm sure Andy's happy with him.
Yeah, and I think Andy's going to kind of try and recover and get back on track as quickly as he can. But there's no time scale for it. There's no
So
time.
there is a possible Andy might come back then.
Who knows in the future? You know, who knows who knows what's around the corner. But yeah, right now Spikey is the drummer for Memoriam. That's
awesome.
He is. Yeah, but that's it. But yeah, there's a couple of songs on there. There's a real slow, epic doom metal song on there, which is something I've never done before. And yeah, absolutely. So yeah, there's plenty of flavour on there. Something for everyone.
Sounds great. Oh, I'm excited. But honestly, so Karl, we'll end it there. But honestly, it was an absolute pleasure talking to you. I'm sure I'll catch you again at some point to discuss your next album after that.
Absolutely. Okay. Probably have to end the speech tomorrow when I find out that I can't actually manage to send this recording.
Oops. Yeah, honestly, so from me and Blessed Altazang, thank you for spending your time with us, and thank you for at least giving us the benefit of the doubt and having a conversation with some amateurs.
It's always a pleasure to speak to you, Kieran. You're a good man. So all the best, and hopefully our paths will cross post.
We shall indeed.
COVID.
See you soon.